everybody. My name is Agata Sobczak, and I'm a Global Insights Manager at Nestle.
And my name is Kevin O'Farrell, a Director at Analytic Partners. So the talk we have today is called Searching for the Answer. Not in the philosophical sense, much more in the practical sense of what does search do? What is its contribution to our sales? And what is the return on investment? What are we getting back for the spend that we're putting behind branded and non-branded search? So we have been partners with Nestle for the past 10 years, working closely on solving these types of problems, real-world problems, as new media comes in, changing landscapes. We work very closely with Nestle and their partners to set out, fully understand the problem, set out the analysis, and then have a look at the business impact that comes after this. So we'll take you through a few short slides which will set out this journey and how we solve it.
And we're going to start with setting out the problem. And this was an experiment which we have run for Dolce Gusto. So firstly, we are running multiple media campaign and marketing activities. We advertise across TV, we advertise across print, digital media, and all of this information creates this initial interest in coffee at home, in coffee machines, and in Dolce Gusto. So then what do we all do whenever we have initial interest? We Google it. And afterwards, people either purchase the product or they are exposed to paid search advertisement, and then they are purchasing the product. So the key questions that we need to answer is, what is the impact of that paid search ad, and how can we disentangle this impact from that initial interest that had been created from talking to your friends and family and other marketing activities? So to answer this question, we have formed a very close collaboration across media and media agencies and digital agencies, as well as our analytics partner, Analytic Partners. So on the media side, we have designed the search strategy to ensure that we have the best chance to generate impact. The way we are looking at search, in line with the Nestle vision, Search 2.0 vision, we start with coverage. Paid search is exactly the same as being visible in the store shelf. If you are not there, if your product is not available, you will never be picked and chosen. Then we have applied best practices within mobile environment, including geo-targeting for the most relevant consumers. And then, in line with our strategy, we have used audiences and personalization to ensure that the most relevant messages will be shown to the consumers who are needing it.
Great. So when we look at, as Agata mentioned, when we look at the problem of search, what we see is that everyone is being impacted by we see that they're being impacted in the same way with very little variation in the data. So what we really want to create are different groups, some being exposed and some not being exposed. And then we can compare the difference between these. With online sales, it's much easier to set up these types of experiments where we can do A/B testing. But with offline sales, we need to play a little bit with the data. So again, working in collaboration with Google, with the media agencies, we sat down and had a look at how does the data look historically. And as we can see, it's very consistent. This is breaking out across the different regions. It tracks sales very closely, and it's always on. So by setting up the experiment, what we looked was turning on and off search in different regions. So looking at, so moving from the historical through to during the experiment phase, we can see we now have clean periods where we have search on and we have search off, and we have this nice variation across the different geos. So we have the search data set up this way, but into the overall model, we need to decide on the other drivers, the other variables that we're feeding in. So we look in terms of feeding in media drivers, so feeding in TV, online video, print, capturing the in-store elements, so pricing, discounts, any activity happening in-store, and then other impacts such as seasonality, weather, competition. So we structure these within the overall model, and the structure of the model, it's accounting for the different regions, so taking into account this regional variation. It's taking into account the different products. So with Nestle Dolce Gusto, we have both machines and pods, so we need to understand those interactions. And then we also want to structure in the direct and the indirect impacts of the different advertising. So for example, we want to capture the impact that TV is having on search and website before it feeds through to sales. So setting up the model this way allows us to get a very holistic view of all of the drivers, and then that we can isolate this search impact during the experimental phase. And then from this, we can get a clear understanding of the sales impact of the different drivers. We can start understanding the return on investment that we're getting, and also have a look at optimizations and what-if scenarios. So that's very much the overall structure. I guess to briefly talk through some of the key findings we had from this experiment. We saw that during the experiment phase, we had better measurement of search. So we were able to get a more significant read in terms of the search impact and get a clear understanding of its precise sales contribution. So we're able to separate out each of the different drivers and see clearly how much is search contributing to sales incrementally. We were also able to see the high ROI that we were getting from search. So working very well for Dolce Gusto in this market, being slightly more higher involvement in terms of machines. We did see the search performing better than other activities. And we saw very strong synergies working across different, working in conjunction with the different activities. So we really saw that search harvesting some of this demand which is generated by those other activities. We were also able to enrich these specific learnings from Dolce Gusto by incorporating the ROI genome. So this is Analytic Partners' pool of knowledge gathered across the last 15 years across hundreds of billions of marketing spend. We're able to see, is this a one-off or does it line up? Is this something that we see consistently across markets, across time? And what we see is that in general, we see media performing quite well, but search, paid search outperforming that for these types of categories. But where we really see that additional impact is search in conjunction with media, really driving those additionally strong high ROIs.
And with all of those findings, so Kevin and the team have presented all of those findings to us and showcased us ways of allocating the investment across the different media activities, how we can change the focus of our creatives to ensure the highest impact on sales. We have also added recommendations on which other media should we be looking at outside of the ones we have been historically historically investing in, based on the ROI benchmarks that they have within our countries, within our categories. And we have implemented those learnings. Next year, we have measured again, and we have had amazing results. Our media ROI have increased by 20%. So thank you very much, Kevin.
You're very welcome. Thank you.